Welcome! Arise, minions, and welcome back to unMadeGaming. We are here for our monthly Q&A, and things look like they're still working on my end. And yes, I have a mustache. Isn't that weird? Um, it was military weekend this weekend, and I decided to go with a mustache. And I washed my hair today, and the hair does not match the mustache. So that's a situation. But normally it's, you've seen it. Um, I've been told I look like Mario, and that's fine. That's fine. So all weekend I've been saying, "Wahoo!" So, yeah, mustache time. The lady likes it, and happy wife, happy life, or whatever they say. Happy girlfriend, other word that rhymes with girlfriend. This is our monthly Q&A. If this is your first time being here, we do have a list of Q's to A from our patrons that is collaborated in our Discord. We also take questions live here. So if you are going to ask a question live, just do me the favor of putting the word question before that. Either myself or our amazing community moderator can go ahead, our manager can go ahead and take that and put it in our document for questions, either now or at a later time. We do have a handful of questions to go through today, and depending on the question, it may end up as a blog over on our website. And if you have not seen our website, it's unmadegaming.com. Go check it out. We got a bunch of blogs up there based on questions that have been asked here and other cool things that I have just spouted out of my brain. Cool. You got to do the accent, the Mario accent, like from the movie, Chris Pratt's accent, or like it's me, Mario, like that accent, or like a typical New York, hey, get out of my way, I'm walking here. Which you got all of them. My hubby is also not allowed to shave, so I feel you. Yeah, I have to shave for military, but in the military, you can keep your mustache. As long as it's like it has to like be at the edge of your lips, so it's a whole thing. The Chris Pratt accent for Mario is it's just Chris Pratt's voice, which is Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. It's regular voice. I wish I could do the Waluigi mustache. Waluigi is my favorite character, and I play him anytime there's an option, just so I have an excuse to yell "Wah!" at everybody that I'm playing with. So, you know. Cool. So we're gonna jump into some Q's to hit with our A's here tonight, and we're gonna start off with one that Neek asked some time ago. What do you hope the community here will look like in 1 year or in 5 years? So I'm going to immediately go off topic because that's what I do here. The other day I texted my family. His voice was the best. I texted my family and I said, guys, could I just have a couple $1,000,000 so I could buy a mill building? For those of you who don't know, New England, where I live, is full of old mills, like turn of the Industrial Revolution style mills for textiles. And so I was like, and right now we're repurposing a lot of them into like homes or like businesses and those kind of things. And I said, can I just have $1,000,000 or so to get some mill space, and then I will create a tabletop store, like your friendly local gaming store called unMadeGaming. And then there will be a back room that has a fully set up tavern style kick-ass tabletop room with cameras and professional microphone and sound quality to record things. And then there'll be another room that'll have cool built out like sets and walls, so you can do cosplay photo shoots there. And then Cinda and my mom can do the photo shoots because they both like photography. And then my mom can have a little yoga studio because she's a yoga instructor. And then my dad on the very far side can have a big bay door and all the things he needs to have a garage, because my dad is a mechanic. Really, my dad's a truck driver whose passion is being a mechanic, and my mom is a vice president of sales, but her passion is yoga. So I just want to have $1 million to buy a mill, and just let everyone I know live their passion, including myself. That has nothing to do with the community, or what it will look like in 1 year or 5 years. But to answer the question simply, what do I hope the community here will look like in 1 year or 5 years? I hope the community looks the same but bigger. GS, so what did they say? My parents said yes, but they don't have millions of dollars to give me. So if they did, we'd be having a very different conversation if my family just had a spare $1 million. I hope the community looks the same. I love the community that we've built here. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I get from our most active members of the community, and even ones that aren't that active, is that we have created a great community here. So I hope that in 1 year the community still kicks ass. I hope that in 5 years the community still kicks ass. I hope that the community is as passionate about my projects as they are about their projects. I hope that they are passionate about each other's projects. I hope that the Discord is still a hopping. That's a hopping and happening place both at the same time, about each other's tabletop games, movies and shows, and little book clubs are sprouting off and forming things. And I hope that the community that we have built continues to grow and continues to be super awesome. I hope that we continue to not. I hope that we have safety in place, but continue to not need it as much. There are very few instances in which case the moderators and community management and myself need to get involved in things, and I like that, despite the fact that we have grown so much over the last. 8 years. 8 years this August. And I hope that in 5 years, that's the same thing. On a slightly different side of the answer, I hope that the business grows more. I hope that in the years to come, the blog is more successful. I hope to be starting a newsletter. That could possibly be within the year. I hope to be starting the YouTube channel. I hope to have a goddamn office and not a blanket fort, which is what I currently have. I hope to have our written modules be whatever I deem to be successful as successful. So, yeah, I hope for everything that we're doing to still be doing, but more and bigger. My plan to build an office on the other side of the wall that I'm facing, and then this room here, the blanket fort will come down, and this whole room is going to be converted into some sort of wizard tower with a big table in the center. And I texted my family, and it was half joking. Well, no, it was like 10% joking, 90% serious. I want to redo the whole basement and take down all this wood here and redo it to make it look like a wizard tower or something like that. And I texted my family in our family group chat, and I was like, look, guys, I want to redo the whole basement for tabletop games, but I also need it to be a tax write-off for business. So as soon as the room is done, we need to record a podcast in the basement with all of my family, and they're all mostly on board. So there may be a Mike's Family podcast of me running something like D&D for my mom and dad. Maybe that's in the 5-year window. Who the hell knows? Office, and we want to see the sign. The sign will be prominent in the office. I promise. Cool. Let's jump to the next question here. When you're planning a new actual play, what typically comes first in the planning? A story idea, the group of players, a setting slash system slash other. Ooh, yes. I don't have a hard and fast rule for things. So it for me personally, it can come. Sorry. This question is from our patron Lectu. So when I'm planning an AP, it could be any of those things. Usually not setting and system. Actually, that's not true. So right now, I know that the Walking Dead RPG is coming out in November. And I like Walking Dead, and I like Free League, who made it, and I want to run a Walking Dead campaign. So that's playing a new AP. I have no idea what the plot is. I have no idea who's going to play. I just know that in November, I want to be running or December, sometime soon, I want to be running a Walking Dead campaign. So I have nothing there. At the same time, I also know that I have other stories that like I have. I'm currently building a Glenbrook summer camp called Camp Nowhere, and I have a little bit of story for that. And I'm also building some other Glenbrook stuff, and I have story for that. Obviously, the system is kind of attached to that, but I have no idea who the player is. So I have story, but not player. And the other one I have system, but not story or players. And sometimes I have like the group from Void, who is also in Shattered Crown. We're just down to play whatever together, and so sometimes we just say, "Hey, do you guys want to play a game?" And a pitch gets thrown. Yeah, I want to run this game. So that is cast first, and then story is whatever, because our table is so comfortable together. So the easy answer to your question is yes. That the answer I gave is the far more complicated one of it depends. Sometimes I have the idea for a story, and then based on the story, I say, okay, this kind of story needs improv players, needs dramatic players, needs silly players, and then I look for that kind of thing. Sometimes I have the idea for the setting or the system, and the setting and the system also determine that, right? Like, I'm not going to run, at least I don't think so, I'm not going to run a Walking Dead game that is slapstick comedy, right? So the answer will, whatever the origin is, will inform the other things. But nothing typically comes first. It's whatever pops into my brain, and then I fill out the triangle. I fill out the rest of the answers there. It was a good question. Tell us, this is from G. Tell us about one of the best / most funniest / badass moments you've had as a player. The best / most funniest / badass moments you've had as a player. Man, there were some pretty badass moments as Malik Al-Assad. A lot of the cool speeches, a lot of the cool like hacking and getting away with shit was super badass. I think Malik as a character was kind of badass. As Malcolm K in oh goodness gracious, in 6 and 20 Metropolis. Malcolm K had some badass situations happen. Malcolm K was the rift of Peter Pan. So he was a 13-year-old boy with the powers of Peter Pan. And at one point I met Thor, and he tried to smash me out of his room with a hammer out of his office building because he was like an executive. And before that happened, my powers were like imagination and shadows, and I imagined a whole scenario, and it literally changed the world for a minute, and the whole world became black, or at least the whole office became black and white, and I became a hardened detective, even though I was a 13-year-old kid in a torn hoodie. And everyone started talking in that mid-Atlantic accent, which was great. But then he broke the spell and threw his hammer at me out of the window, but I rolled really high and leapt on top of the hammer and basically just surfed the hammer back around to him. That was pretty cool. I think I rode a dragon in that game, or punched a dragon. I don't remember. I did a lot of really cool things in that game. That was a pretty fun, badass game. What other sticking out? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of badass moments in Atari Twilight. Jumping off the rabbit was a freaking cool one. Frags as Rob transforming into a robot. Fighting the bad guys, teleporting Optimus Prime. A lot of really cool, badass moments, I think, have happened. And a lot of funny moments preceded that. The probably one of the most talked about funny moments was the Six-Fingered Man. Was the beginning of episode 5, season 1 of Atari Twilight, where we went into a bathroom and there was graffiti on the wall that said something like "Beware the Six-Fingered Man," which is obviously a reference to The Princess Bride. But we as children. We as children and the players as children got locked into a debate for like several minutes of what the Six-Fingered Man meant. Did it mean he had 6 fingers on one hand, the normal 5 fingers on one hand, and 1 finger on the other hand for a total of 6? 3 fingers and 3 fingers, like a T-Rex. So we just had an argument of the different combinations of fingers that would equal up to 6. It was a hilarious time. Yeah, so that was a lot of cool times there. A lot of funny moments there. Yeah. We dragged a girl into the boys' bathroom. It was a fun time. We had a fun time. All right, let's see here. Tell us, this is also from Neek, one of our patrons. Tell us a moment as a DM where players made a choice that sent everything you have planned off the rails. Oh, I have one. Great. Right off the top of my head, actually. Fresh in my mind, because I was just working on it. This one time, I had decided I was going to run Tales from the Loop in my homebrew world of Glenbrook. And I said, guys, I'm working on a homebrew town, and I want to run a one-shot in here, and I would like you guys to be the first people in there. And they said, cool, we can't wait, we love it. We love everything you do. Sounds great, you're awesome. And I said, oh, thank you so much. And then I set up this entire mystery surrounding a carnival, if you can believe that. And I had attractions and rides and games and a big giant red and white tent that things were going to happen in. And I had a haunted house ride that was closed. And I just described it as it's a haunted house. And it looks like a castle, and there's like a thing on it, and it's closed. And my characters, and the carnival was free. So my players decided to go there early before it opened, break in to the free carnival, completely ignore all of the things that were there, and beeline directly for the closed attraction, break the lock on it, and then enter the closed ride, where they then proceeded to do all kinds of things, all of which ignored the entire adventure that I wrote, and thus created a completely improvised adventure on the spot. So yeah, that was one time in which they made a choice that sent everything off the rails. Granted, it was a good time, and that part of the adventure, the haunted house, has now been retrofitted into the module that I'm currently writing, unfortunately, I have to admit to G, because it was her. I'm like 99% sure it was her idea to break in, or at least, if not break in, to at least go and try to get in. the collective feedback from everyone who's playtested is their favorite moments were the haunted house. So what came from a complete improv off the rails accident is now the best part of the module. So that's fun. That's fun. Um, yeah. So that is one time. That is a moment in which that has happened. Um, what else? Another moment was last week's episode of Shattered Crown, episode 21, where we learned about the mating habits of dwarves. I had a whole adventure prepped, and nothing happened there. So it happens. It happens all the time. Another good one. Another good one since they're in chat. G and Melissa are both in our Mundus Novus campaign, and for several sessions they became obsessed with a cave that had nothing to do with anything at all. They just really wanted to go to it, but they were so sure that the cave had something to do with the mystery they were trying to solve that they spent several episodes preparing for, going to, and exploring said cave. And it had nothing. I can't even call it a red herring because it was never a herring of any kind to begin with. They created a red herring, and I had to deal with it. But things happened. And they got I managed to stick a clue in there somewhere. So yeah, it happens. It happens far more often than you think. The benefit, I guess, I can't say benefit, but I have learned to one of the founding principles of unMadeGaming when I first started. I used to be a wicked bad railroader, and when I started running the very first game on unMadeGaming called Havoc in the Hinterlands, no, it wasn't Havoc in the Hinterlands. It was Bound by Flame. The very first game I ran on unMadeGaming, Bound by Flame, one of my first notes was prep less, improv more. So that's when I first started using the one-page prep that I do, and that's all I prep. So a lot of that show became improv, just sort of riffing off what the players gave me. So that was 8 years ago. So now here I am, and when those kind of things happen, I have enough knowledge of the system and enough knowledge of like the world in which we're playing that I can riff off of the players and build something. So it's not often, not I wouldn't say not often. That sounds far too confident. But a lot of the time, when I'm pulling it out of my butt, because the players have completely gone off the page, you can't tell until after the fact. And usually I'm fairly honest about it. When we get to the end of the session, I'm like, well, I didn't plan any of that, so glad it didn't suck. There was something with a well. That's true. Yeah, the leaf of a freshwater plant was what's in the sea cave. That show, Bound by Flame. Yeah. Bound by Flame is not online. Bound by Flame and Havoc in the Hinterlands are the first two campaigns we ran that are not online. They were run online, but you can't find them anymore. They're off of Twitch, and we never recorded them. We started recording, I think, halfway through, or no, Havoc in the Hinterlands had 3 seasons, and we started recording in season 2, and it got, like, messed up somewhere. Like, the audio was messed up. Havoc is online? Is it really? Did I put that online? I thought it was messed up, or I think if it is, I think it's Havoc season 2 and 3. I could have sworn Havoc was not online. Either way, Bound by Flame is 100% not online. Yeah, Havoc in the Hinterlands is not online either. Yeah, you can't find that. But those were both D&D. They were both set in my homebrew world of Timorel. And some of them had, like, it was 2 campaigns. They lasted they both lasted like a year and change for Bound by Flame, and a year for Havoc in the Hinterlands. And then they had some like cross, because I kept like a timeline, and so like I think 3/4 of the way through Bound by Flame, that's when Havoc in the Hinterlands started, and they actually had some like NPCs cross over. Yeah, I wrote like a whole world that had like 10,000 years of history, but that was before I knew a lot more about world building. And there's a lot of things that I would change or redo. It's enough things that I would redo that I would just start from scratch if I were going to build a D&D world. Um, cool. Next, actually, you know what? Let's slide down, and we got a live question here. Um, this is a live question from Luke. Have you ever run a Mario TTRPG or would like to? I'll tell you what. Now is probably the best time for me to do that. Not because of the Mario movie, but because they are releasing a remastered, updated graphics, updated everything version of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars for the Switch. And that RPG is one of my favorite RPGs ever. It was originally for the Super Nintendo, and was great. It was a super awesome game. Basic same story principle is Peach gets kidnapped, Mario gets her back, but then Peach becomes a playable character, and there's more other bad guys. You actually get to play with Bowser on your team, Mario's on your team, Peach is on your team. You get a new guy who's a puppet named Geno. You get he's a prince from the Cloud People. His name is Malo, and he looks like a marshmallow. Is that it? Is that all there is? I think that's the only characters. You get to like throw chomp-bombs at people. You get to throw bob-bombs at people. It's great. It's an amazing game, and they're remaking it for the Switch, and I cannot wait to get it. And if I were to ever run a Mario TTRPG, it would be in that world. It would 1,000% be in that world. And now that you mentioned it, and now that I'm talking about it, now I would have never thought about doing that before, but now I low-key want to do that. I would also need to figure out what system to do that in, but I think that would be hysterical, and would be a very fun time. That would be a very silly game, and I'm kind of here for it. This Mario talk makes me want to hook up our GameCube and play Double Dash. See, I'm gonna tangent here. After the Super Nintendo, I have never owned another console from Nintendo. The Switch, which I still don't count as a console, was the only one I've bought. Don't get me wrong, I bought all the handhelds, including the Switch, which I consider a handheld. I have never bought a single console. I do not like the GameCube. I do not like the whatever the hell came next. What is it? The Wii. I didn't like the N64. I thought the controller was stupid. The biggest reason is a single company. One single company. Square, before it was Square Enix, so Squaresoft, was trying to make Final Fantasy VII for the Nintendo, for the Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom, and they were trying, but the storage was too small. And then Nintendo was like, hey, we're making the N64, and it was still cartridge based, and the storage was still too small for this massive game they wanted to do. And then PlayStation came out, and they were like, hey, we're using CDs. And they were like, yo, CDs, that's way more storage. And so because Nintendo couldn't up their storage and couldn't get their shit right, essentially, Squaresoft left Nintendo, stopped making games for Nintendo and started making games for PlayStation. And if you're an RPG fan like I am, that's my primary kind of game. Breath of Fire 1, 2, 3, Star Ocean, the second story, Final Fantasy 1 through 6, Legend of Mana, Sword of Mana, all of these amazing RPGs that were like the formative RPGs of the 90s, were made by Square Enix, or made by Squaresoft or Enix. And when Squaresoft went to PlayStation, all of the RPGs went there. And that's why on N64, GameCube, and everything else, all of the RPGs, even Super Mario RPG was made by Squaresoft. All of the RPGs for those systems sucked. They were terrible. At least there was almost no more JRPGs, and the closest you had to an RPG really was the Zelda games. And so that's when I switched to PlayStation, and I've never looked back. But now they're re-releasing all of the old Square Enix games on, like I have Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which is 1 through 6 on my Switch. I'm getting the new Super Mario RPG on my Switch. I'm getting the new Star Ocean, the second story on my Switch. So yeah, that's a random soapbox tangent about why I don't play Nintendo consoles. But Super Mario RPG TTRPG, that's something. That's something in there. Now that's shaking around on the old noodle. I am. That's now I'm gonna think about that for the rest of the night. So thanks. Iquin, our Patreon? He's the whole Patreon. Iquin, our patron, asks, who was the best NPC you got to roleplay as a DM, and what made them so great? Also, reversed, who was the greatest NPC you've played against, and what made them so great? That's a great question. Shit. Belladonna Atropos from Men of Letters is one of my top favorite NPCs I've ever played, if you've seen that show. She is a sassy Italian, take no shit lady, and I loved playing her. She was a solid foil to a lot of the heroes in that campaign. She was a neutral party, but she was a solid foil. G hates her. And anytime G hates a character, anytime the community hates a character, I know I've done it right. Because she's not meant to be a good person. She's a neutral party that can be as helpful as she is unhelpful. And she is a solid NPC. Loved playing her. On the other side of the coin, Beef Wellington and Lucas from Glenbrook. Lucas is if you turned a golden retriever into a human, and Beef Wellington is a single dad just doing his best. They were both very fun to play, very, very kind of silly juxtaposition of the characters, and I very much enjoyed playing them. Those are probably some of my favorite NPCs. Who was the greatest NPC you've played against, and what made them so great? Against. Man, that's also a very good question. Now I'm trying to think back to it's less about remembering an NPC, just remembering what games I was a player in. Samara was a good one. From Void. Excellent character. I loved that she meant something different to every person in the party. She was one of our sisters. She was one of our like neutral kind of go-betweens. Other players hated her. Excellent character. Always excellent to role play with. I thoroughly enjoyed role playing with Samara because we were the same kind of person, and so it was always a battle of wits and sassy sarcasm. Um, was always fun. Um, who else? Who else was a great NPC to battle wits with? Yeah, that I was. You know what? G mentioned one, and I was gonna say that one, but it seems it seems a little um, I don't know, too self love. Greg playing uh, evil Mitch. So Greg had been working up, and this is a little bit of spoilers, but it's been years now. Greg has been working on the Atari Twilight saga for years now. And in season three, we found out that the bad guy, the architect behind everything, has been an older version of my character. Which was an amazing reveal. It was amazing to play against. It was amazing to see Greg take all of our years of playing together and essentially try to play me playing a character. Was awesome. I really enjoyed that. It's always fun when you create a character and then someone else gets a chance to play them. Like seeing G run Mr. LaBelle in Carnival of Screams was very fun, especially since G hates Mr. LaBelle. Um, so yeah, that was super fun. I really enjoyed that. Paul, how's it going, buddy? How you doing? How you doing? Other than the evil Arkaville, there aren't a lot of bad guys he plays in AT. That's true. That's true. Yeah, Nega Mitch was a very cool one. I very much enjoyed that one. Um, all right. Let's see here. G asks from our Patreon questions here. If you could create any panel at PAXU you wanted and invite anyone you wanted, what would it be? Um, I assume you mean a panel to speak on and invite anyone I wanted to be on it with. Honestly, I would do a live play. I did a live play of oh Christ. I did a live play of Caro Stones at Gen Con one year, and it was such a blast. Um, and I feel like live plays at conventions are super fun. Um, both to like we actually like gave dice out to the crowd and had them roll our dice for us, and we just role played based on their results. It was super fun. I would love to play again. I would love to get the whole Void crew. Speaking of Paul, I'd love to get a whole Void crew together at a convention and run a one shot live as a panel of Void. Would be so cool. Would be absolutely so cool. Yeah. It would be very fun. So yeah, if I could create any panel, it would be something with the Void crew is exactly who I would invite. And it would be role playing a fun game with all of my best friends. Would be amazing. I would love that. Caro Stone AP. Yeah, it was a Gen Con 50. Gen Con 51. So like 2018. We did that. It was very cool. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah, but I would do the Void Crew and really anything. Void Crew playing something, playing Void would be very fun. It would be awesome to also get like everyone from Atari Twilight together and do some kind of actual play. Um, Live stream would be super cool. I'd love to do that. Um, Neek asked a question again from our Patreon. What has been your most embarrassing moment as a player? I feel like I answered something along the lines of this question previously, um, and I don't I don't really have one. Um, Not to be like I never. I'm always awesome. It takes a lot for me to be embarrassed. And I don't think I've ever. I think everyone I've ever role played with live, at least, and also with my friends, like in my home groups. Everyone I've ever role played with is of the caliber of person, the caliber of role player, and the caliber of friend that would not make me feel embarrassed for something. Like sure we may bust chops, but yeah, I can't think of anything uh, that I would be embarrassed about as a player. Um, yeah, I unfortunately lame answer, but I don't think I have anything. Nothing comes to mind. Um, um, would love to watch any of your games live. I would love for you to watch them live. Not answered in this series. Not answered. Oh, not as not answered in Ask Glitch. Yeah, I don't think I have any embarrassing moments that I can think of. My characters may have had an embarrassing moment, but I wasn't embarrassed for them. Um, all right, let's see here. We got a double patron question. So from Necrotic, our buddy Chris, how do you deal with a player that chooses chaos for the sake of chaos? Choosing to always be separated from the party, being specific about not working as part of the team, and even at times actively working against them. Additionally, we have added input from Neek. How do you handle a player who isn't matching the tone of the game despite session zero? Okay, cool. Cool. I like this. So I'm gonna handle Neek's question first. How do you handle a player who isn't matching the tone of the game despite session zero? As with everything, talk to the player. A lot of things can be handled by just talking to the player. I see a lot of advice out there that just gives general advice to things without ever asking, "Hey, have you spoken to that player yet?" Because it's like, no, I haven't yet. Okay, well, talk to them, see what's up. Maybe they got something going on. So, talk to the player about the tone. Remind them, hey, look, the tone we're having is a this kind of game. Like, sure, we're playing a dark, a grim dark fantasy game, and sure, like laughs are fun every once in a while, but this is the style of the game we're going for. Or hey, we're playing a silly game and you're being very serious, or whatever it may be. Talk to them. Find out if there's something going on. Find out if there's something that they're not vibing with. Find out if there's is there a reason why they are juxtaposing the tone of the game, and say, hey, is there anything I can do to help with that? Is there anything I can do to help you get into the theme of this game? Is this game for you? If it's not, that's totally fine. You're not like you don't have to be here. If you don't vibe with the game, I'm not forcing you to be here. And I would have that talk, and then I would see how it goes. And then if it comes time for a second talk, more than likely I would say this is not the table for you, um, and ask that person to leave the table. Because at the end of the day, GMs have a lot of GMs that I know have a or that I've worked with or seen or whatever you want to say, have a sort of not exactly hero complex, but like as the GM, you are the facilitator of the game, which sort of mentally comes with the facilitator of fun sort of vibe. And if the other players are having fun and don't have a problem with that character doing that, and you are, a lot of GMs will just be like, well, I'll just suck it up. But you're also a player, and that's important to remember. So if you're not having fun, explain it to the person and be like, hey, this is not the table for you. That being said, have I asked... Oh, sorry. So interruption here. G says, have you ever asked someone to leave your table before? Yes. Yep. And I did answer this in an Ask a Lich. Very short answer. Yes, we had someone in season 1 of a show that was not invited back for season 2. that's where I will leave that. Yes, there have also been people on the channel that have appeared in other things, possibly one-shots back in the day, or other campaigns that were not invited back for other campaigns for various reasons. But going back to the original question from Necro, how do you deal with a player that chooses chaos for the sake of chaos, choosing to always be separated from the party, being specific about not working as part of the team, and even at times actively working against them? These are one of the things that I do not like, and I think that's one of the reasons why Chris kind of asked this. I don't like when people do that. I find it very disruptive, and that's something that I talk about initially at a session 0. This is the kind of game we're doing. You are a party. You are a team. This is one of the prime reasons why I do not like the trope of you meet in a tavern. I find the stress and anxiety of having to get 4 random strangers who have no desire to work together and no reason to work together to all of a sudden work together. A lot of the time they just say, "You're a party, go." Hell, even the game I'm running at home right now, I have one new player, Mike and my girlfriend, and I said, you guys are 3 travelers on the road, and an adventure finds you, and they're like, okay, great, cool. So again, I would hammer this down at the session 0, talking about that kind of thing specifically. And if it slips your mind, you don't mention that specifically at a session 0. When that happens in the game, if you don't like it or it is disruptive, again, pull that player aside and be like, hey, I noticed you doing that. What's going on? Why are you doing that? Is there something more you want? Are you not vibing with the story? Are you trying to work against? Are you trying to be an evil character? Which that is also something I hammer down on my session 0s is unless we are playing an evil game, such as Blades in the Dark, I do not run campaigns for evil characters. I straight up refuse to do it. It's not my jam. I don't like that. I think that one evil character in a party of good characters spoils the whole bunch. I think it makes it an impossibly harder campaign to run, trying to wrangle that level of chaos or evil, depending on how you look at the alignment chart. So I straight up don't do it. I say the most evil you can be is a neutral character. I don't do evil characters. That being said, I've also played evil characters, and there's ways to do it. I played a lawful evil mercenary, and he was lawful because he had a code that he would stick to in his mercenary work, but he was evil because he broke the law and killed people for money. So there's ways to do it, but he also worked with the party. He was hired to do a job, and one of the player characters hired him to follow him along and keep him alive, and he did. So yes, hammer down what your expectations are in a session 0. You're all here to work together. This is a table. This is a story. This is not anyone's individual writing. If you want to have an individual adventure, write a novel. You're all here to work together. And then if that person is not doing that, try to have a conversation. Hey, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Are you not vibing? Do you not like the story? Are you distracted? What's going on? Is there something in your personal life that you're sort of, replacing therapy with D&D? And then if it continues to happen, hey, we've spoken about this before. I don't think this is the table for you. Now you can give the old 3 strikes you're out kind of thing. I think for me, session 0 is strike 1. You were told you didn't do that. That's strike 1. Me having a conversation with you and you continue to do it, that's strike 2. And if I have to come to you again, you're out. So really I give like 2 strikes and you're out. But that is how I would handle that. Cool. All right, let me just quick check here. Any more questions from chat? I always try to wrap up around 9, and I always end up going to 9:30. So I'm going to do one more question. So if you have cues in the chat, get them in. We'll throw them on the document, and we'll keep them rolling over for next time. This is a fun question to end on. God damn it, G. I just looked at the question underneath that. I will only answer half of that question. But a question from Lectu, again, one of our patrons asking in our Discord. Again, if you're not in the Discord, go check it out. Link down below. Check that out. Join us over there and come hang out. Lectu asks, other than family activities, of course, is there any other hobby that you value as much or more than role playing? No. So it's a fun question. I don't have many. Between being in school, being a stay-at-home parent, family activities, being in the military, and writing, editing, prepping, building, preparing, networking, etc. for unMadeGaming. I play D&D. I play D&D at home. I currently have a D&D game. We are running Below Phandalin something, the Shattered Obelisk. I don't know. It's some convoluted title. It's the newest adventure from Wizards of the Coast. It's short titled Shattered Obelisk. The first 60 pages are a refreshed version of Lost Mines of Phandelver, and then 90 more pages of new content, which is very cool. I'm currently running that. I'm having a lot of fun messing around with maps. I'm actually drawing some maps. If you've seen some of the Patreon chat, which reminds me, there's the Patreon app on your phone got a whole bunch of new features, including like a little like text message chat feature thing, which is cool. So yeah, I've been messing around with like detailed player maps and like actual using battle maps. Cinda and I watch a lot of videos about like how to make dice. I really want to try to get into that. We also watch videos on how to make terrain. I also want to fuck around and try to learn how to make terrain. She wants to paint minis. I want her to paint my minis. I also am thinking about getting a resin printer so I can print out said minis and have her paint them. So a lot of my hobbies come around tabletop. And also small business. We had the idea to make candles that have dice in them. We had the idea to make bath bombs that have dice in them. We had a lot of nerdy tabletop related ideas that take my nerdy hobby and her nerdy hobby, combine it with her nerdy craftiness to make cool crafts. But honestly, other than that, I play video games. I play video games and I watch TV. That being said, the question is there any other hobby that you value as much or more than role playing? More, no. As much, maybe. I've said it before, steal everything. That's my number one GM tip, is steal everything. I steal everything from movies, TV, video games. I somehow find time to consume movies, TV shows, and video games at a fairly decent rate. Thanks in part to the fact that I have a tablet and a laptop that I can use to work on editing things from my couch while watching TV shows. There are so much of Glenbrook is stolen from Stephen King movies, Stephen King books, Riverdale. Whole plots of one-shots are from Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? I have a running notebook, a running note app list of ideas that I get from shows that I think are cool. So for me, those are very important to me, watching TV, new shows, fantasy things, because that's how I consume media, and I use that media then to inform my world building, which then informs my improv, which then informs this show. So everything sort of ties back together. So ultimately, everything revolves around role playing and is tangentially related to role playing. I will say that my friends are trying to form a board game night, of which I am hosting, but rarely play in because, shocker, I don't like board games. Yeah, I own one board game. Actually, I own two board games. One because PAX gave it to me for free, and one because I bought it. The free one is still in the cellophane wrapper. The one I bought has two expansions that are awesome. And that is the only board game that I have consistently enjoyed over the years. And if you're curious, it's called Mysterium, so go check that out. Yeah, like we just like you mentioned, the a fairly decent rate. We just binged the first 5 episodes of Goosebumps, the new season. Just came out on Hulu and Hulu and Disney Plus. And they dropped the first 5 episodes, and then the next 5 episodes are going to be weekly. But we just binged through those 5 episodes in 2 days. We just finished up Wheel of Time season 2, and we're going to be starting Walking Dead, so I can prepare for the Walking Dead campaign that I'm going to run. Cool. That's it. That's it, friends. I'm going to keep this episode tight. Usually we end up rambling until like 9:30, quarter of 10. But we said an hour, so I'm going to stick to an hour. I'm going to do my best to stick to that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for asking these cues. If you have more cues and you are a patron, go ahead and pop them over to the Discord. I will add those to the list. If you are not a patron, when this is out, which will be when you're watching it, I guess, put it in the comments down below. We skim these every week or so and pull comments from these. You can tweet at me on X or whatever the fuck. You can X at me. I don't know what the hell it's called. You can do the thing on the beast that was Twitter. Just use hashtag #AskALich, and I'll get those. And yeah, that's it. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon, patreon.com/unMadeGaming. While you're there, check out all the cool posts. We get like blog posts weeks early there. You guys get some behind the scenes looks at character art. You get some, actually I've been posting my my session notes on campaigns as we run them. Our after shows are pretty cool. And if that's not enough for you, join us over the Discord. Hang out, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. But that's it for me. I will see you guys next time. So from all of us to you, bye.